Camelot 331 here, and today we're going to talk about Walmart horror stories. Some that were experienced by associates in the stores on the front lines, and some that were experienced by me. And as you can imagine, there is endless stories. There's just a plethora of just stories from the most outrageous things you can possibly imagine. Let's cover some of them right now. So some of you have probably heard about the fear of unions in Walmart. They actually have an anti-union squad that they'll send out to stores if they think that people are discussing a union. So the fear of unions can be really crazy there. There was actually one time where an associate was talking to me about a family reunion that she had previously attended the weekend before. And out of the corner of my eye, I'll see this manager. And they're just like sprinting towards us. And they just jump in and they're like, who said the word union? Who's talking about a union? And she's like, oh no, I said reunion, like family reunion, not union. And the manager didn't believe the associate. They're like, no, you said union, and we're gonna have to take you in the office and talk about this. And I was backing this associate up. I was like, no, she just said family reunion. She didn't say union. It's no big deal. And the manager still was just ready to flip their lid. Luckily, there was a few associates around, and they actually stood up for this associate. So we got it cleared up. But it was terrifying because I didn't know. I didn't know that that was like a thing, you know? Like I didn't know that union was like a bad word in Walmart. So next time you're in Walmart and you don't work there, just scream union. Scream union at people. Look at management and be like, union! And you'll get tackled and probably beat to death, which is fine. I wish they would have beat me to death. I would have sweet release. Now, I've worked a lot of retail. You guys know. Everyone knows. Please, why won't anyone shoot me in the face? I've worked a lot of retail over the last forever. And one of the crazier examples that I can come up with is one of my stores at my previous company had a store manager that was actually in a secret relationship that everyone knew about with the guy that worked electronics. It was a young guy. The store manager was also a male, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. Well, they were in a relationship, and if you didn't know that guy worked in electronics, you wouldn't know any better because you never saw him. Because the associate would come into work, clock in, and then that associate and the store manager would just take like a company car like off the premises and go to the nearby like storage facility and just hang out. And everyone knew and no one cared because he was showing so much favoritism because he was touching on him a little. So I guess it made it okay. During my 2 years working with Walmart, I saw people break down, freak out, lie, cheat, steal, and so many sad workers who had no other option but to keep going. Just keep going. People who had worked there from the beginning when the store was being built, being forced down to part-time and losing all their benefits, they're all so sad, with good reason. One time when I was in a store, I watched a lady throw up in front of the video game section, like the glass case. She looked over at us, shrugged, and just walked away. And then, 20 minutes later, she came back, looked to see if anybody had cleaned it up, and just laughed hysterically and walked away. That's insane. That's almost as bad as a guy pooped on the floor. Almost as bad. Not as bad. It's not as bad. Almost as bad. And as you've noticed, there is never anybody working. And while I'm aware that employees' paychecks cut into Walmart's profits, people standing in line for 30 minutes to an hour with their item or just to ask a question and then end up not buying it anyway because they're frustrated, that probably cuts into their profits more. I mean, right? So I had a lot of people tweet me or message me on Instagram with their own experiences working for Walmart. And this one comes from Sydney from Pennsylvania. Management encourages rudeness to customers. You would not believe this, would you? More than once, I have had a manager threaten to write me up for assisting a customer in a department that borders mine because there's never anyone scheduled for that department. I've always been told and trained that a customer comes first. The 10-foot rule states that whenever a customer comes within 10 feet of you, that you smile and say hello and ask if they need any assistance. My immediate managers have actually told me that if a customer walks up to me in my department and asks me a question related to any other department, I should tell them to find someone else. I have refused to do this, and I've had my assistant manager tell me that he would report me to the store manager over helping a customer. Unfortunately, I would probably be written up or terminated by the store manager as well. But I shall continue to refuse to not help customers. If there were another associate available in that department, I would not have to help customers outside of my department. Now this kind of proves the whole, it's not my department shtick. Everyone has experienced this. You have, I have. When employees say, it's not my department. That's not them just being an a-hole. They might get in trouble if they're assisting someone outside their department. That's what she's saying. In direct opposition to what my managers want me to do when I'm working in my own department, they are constantly calling associates away from their own departments to work in others, and then get angry when our 8-hour shift is over and our department hasn't been fully zoned. It is because we're too busy detail zoning a department we have no idea about, or in an instance I recently experienced, had to clean bathrooms even though we have no training on maintenance whatsoever. This would probably have not been so bad if I did not have an allergy to the material the gloves were made out of, and had not had to clean the entire bathroom barehanded. That's insane. See, one common theme that I've heard being in these stores is there is absolute no training. You go in there and they're like, hey, we want you to zone, welcome to Walmart, and then they just push you out. I actually heard it once where somebody was put in the fish department where they had the little fishes and they had no idea like what to do with the fish, so they just kept putting fish in the tank and the fish just kept dying because they were dying of shock, because you're supposed to do things to introduce them to other fish, and they just didn't know. They were never taught, and every fish forever died. Every fish died because they didn't tell them. You gotta tell them. Training is important. This one comes from Jessica from Texas. I have associates sexually harass me, grabbing my breast and butt and asking inappropriate, detailed questions about my personal life. I have reported it to management, and the response verbatim is, oh, that's just how he is. You just have to look over him. It's fine. It's 2019. That's okay, apparently. They also took this stance when I reported an employee being extremely rude to a customer and going so far as to call me and the customer, who was an old lady, snitching bitches, when she reported him to a manager in front of him. My reporting was done later in the managerial office on camera. This was not the first time I had reported a problem with this particular employee, but just like other times, nothing was done because nothing is ever done. This one comes from Kelly in Kentucky, and this one is shockingly similar to Jessica's story in Texas. We are told we have to complete tasks which are assigned to us by a computerized task manager that are timed and assigned by management. And the times are always ridiculously off. And told that if we do not complete the task, we will be written up. Even if we work an 8-hour scheduled day, we are sometimes assigned 12, 13. I've even seen 20 hours of work assigned to one person. Apparently, that's fine. Because you could just work off the clock for the last 12 hours. Because that's what's going to happen. You ain't getting paid for it. I have even been told by another associate that he doesn't like working with gay people and really doesn't want to work that close to one, and reported it to management and been told to just ignore it. That's just John. It's just John. It's fine. You rascal. John's just crazy. John's just like, you know what? I don't like gay people. So it's fine. Walmart's like, okay, that's cool. We don't either, apparently. A trend that I have noticed is when hourly associates have a vacation payout or a bonus payout of any kind, their hours are actually cut like the following week to kind of claw back at that extra money that they made, which never happens to management staff. So if you're hourly, rest in peace. I mean, I guess you could just stay there 20 years and then finally become an assistant manager. Woo! I'd probably rather be hit by a bus. This one comes from Tammy, also from Kentucky. I've been with the company for 4 years now. For the first 2 years, I kept a pretty good attitude, despite my divorce, deteriorating conditions at work, and actually ending up homeless. Do you think they cared at all? The store cut hours. I went from 28 hours a week to 7 hours a week, and 14 if I was lucky. One of the disabled ladies that worked as a door greeter lost her house of 30 years, just a year short of paying off her mortgage. because her hours were cut and she couldn't even eat. Our manager said she wanted to apologize for the cut hours and she didn't want anyone going without food or necessities. I hadn't eaten in 2 days and I asked for help, crying in her office. She told me she would get me a $50 gift card by the end of the day. When I went to find her at the end of my shift, she had already left. Shocking. When I asked about it the next day, she said she'd given it to a shift manager to give to me, and she'd have to get on to that manager for not getting it to me. Do you think I ever got the card? I'm going to answer that one for you right now. No. No. You never got to eat. She still hasn't eaten today. That's crazy, man. I mean, it's nice that the manager offered to help, but then she didn't follow through. It's like the GameStop when they were running that contest and then just didn't follow through. What the hell, man? You gotta follow through. What it really boils down to is so many workers are just struggling to make ends meet. They're struggling. You have no idea how many Walmart associates I've actually seen lose their home or their place where they're living because they couldn't afford their mortgage or their rent. It's hard to have to decide what not to pay for. And I know this all too well now. Gas, electric, food, medicine, medical care, rent, mortgage. And this is nothing short of disgraceful for a company that's enjoyed $30 to $50 share increase over the last 3 years. If you call out 3 times, you're going to be fired. So people show up barely functioning, completely sick, touching all the products that you're buying, including food. Workers have been injured and forced to come in chronic pain, sometimes scheduled 7 days in a row. In that 7-day stretch, the same person could be short-shifted, which means they only have like 8 hours between their shifts. It's insane. It's just a shameful way for a profitable corporation to treat its employees. And we see this trend all too much. We see it with GameStop. We see it with Walmart. We see it with all the big companies, man. They treat their associates so terrible, yet enjoy a nice, cuddly profit. Not GameStop. They dine. So what's some of your stories? Comment down below. Tell me some of your stories. Message me on Instagram. Message me on Twitter. I will make a video and tell your story to the world. Or 50 to 100,000 people that want to listen to it. So that's all I have today. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. Follow me on the Twitter. Thank you so much to my patrons. I thank you guys so much. I talk to you all personally. Get in the Discord. We have a lot of fun in there. Join my streams. Until next time, get on it. Doggone it. Bye.